You're live.
Oh, we're live.
Great.
Here we are. Hello. Welcome. Kia ora.
Wideo. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. And that beautiful intro music was the Stiff Gins. So
Yes.
yeah,
How good was it?
gorgeous. Yeah, and we're going to be hearing from Nadi Simpson soon too.
Yep. Exactly, curls. Yep.
Mm.
Kirli Saunders is in the house tonight. How great is it to see Kirli?
Thank you. Oh, and it's just nice to be able to be in the same space.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I left Red Room about 3 weeks ago, and I haven't been in the office with all of our wonderful co-workers. So
Yeah,
super nice
it's
to
a
spend some
real
time there.
treat to be sitting 1.5 metres
From you.
from Kirli.
We're going to start with an acknowledgement. We're here tonight on Dharawal land, so we deo now Kirli Saunders acknowledge Mirani Gananugang Dharawal Madong Buringilang Yango Didjarigura Nini Ganai Yuan Ganangara Birapai Gadigal Buringilang for Alyor Wangdui. And please drop your acknowledgement into the chat box. We also acknowledge the lands that you're dialing in from, and thank you so much for taking your time to be with us tonight.
Wow, I don't know about you, but that was a very special treat to hear Kirli speak language then.
Ganangara, yeah. Raised up on Ganangara lands, and that Auntie Val Mulcahy and Auntie Trish Levitt have been teaching me language through the Poetry in First Languages project.
Yeah, it's a very special honour to hear language, and I also want to echo Kirli's acknowledgements. Here in Port Kembla, drove in from Stanwell Park this afternoon. The smokestacks of Port Kembla were bright. They were really bright tonight, and it was really good to come back to Port Kembla. Really beautiful country here on Dharawal country. Really honoured to be here, and again wanting to echo Kirli's respect for country, and that we're on stolen country and always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Being the migrant of a Maori man, I understand and pay my respects to my ancestors, and acknowledge the privilege that comes with being a migrant on these beautiful lands. We're really, really lucky to be coming here from Dharawal country. Beautiful Dharawal land. And as Carl's just mentioned, let's get you to pop in the comment section where you're coming from tonight. What country are you on? What land are you on? And feel free to give your own acknowledgement of country in the comment section. Hey.
Yeah, please. We're here tonight to launch Guwayu, which is really exciting.
Where is it, Kirli?
Yeah, we don't actually have a physical copy.
Imagine.
Heartbreaking.
Just imagine.
I think all of our copies have gone out to the beautiful bookshops who have been, shooting us over photos of the copies that have hit the shelves. So thank you to everybody who's already pre-ordered their copy. And if you haven't already, please jump online. We'll drop a link into the chat box so you can also order your copy, and it will be to you soon.
Good one.
Guwayu for all times is the creation of Red Room Poetry's commissioning over 16 years, and it features 63 poets and 37 poems by First Nations writers. So,
Well said.
yeah,
You got the stats out, Kirl.
yeah, I think I got it the wrong way around. That's okay. And 12 languages.
Yeah, so say that again. So there's 36 poets
63 poems.
with 63 poems.
Yeah.
And how many languages? Is it 12?
Yeah.
So 12 different languages are represented within Guwayu. And what was that, about 16? It spans
16 years, of commissioning with Red Room Poetry. So Red Room aims to make poetry a meaningful part of everyday life, and by engaging creative projects that engage poets to create and publish poetry in unusual ways. So the poems have come out of projects like Extinction Elegies, where poets have been writing about endangered and threatened species, or Poetry in First Languages, where Poets have been creating and publishing poems in First Nations languages.
Excuse me while I go for notes.
No, keep going.
Notes? Where are our notes? Where?
I put them all in code. I put them all in code. Left over dead. Poetry in First Languages, Unlocked, where we've been creating and publishing poems in correctional services and poetic moments. So you would have seen poems on bus backs and keep cups of trains through Red Room and many, many others. So we're going to be hearing from some incredible writers tonight.
We are. We certainly are. Shall we start by hearing from Dr. Jeanine Lane?
Yeah.
So I think we can both speak a bit about the wondrous person that is Dr. Jeanine Lane. I first met Janine in 2016. Was it, Dave? 2016 at Queensland Poetry Festival. And what a tour de force Janine is. Walk Back Over, I believe, is Janine's collection title. What an incredible honour and privilege it has been to take this journey supporting Janine throughout the last sort of 12 months.
She's vigorously edited this collection and has honoured all of the First Nations stories, lands and identities of the writers who have contributed to the collection. And my connection is through the Poetry in First Languages project to Janine, who edited for us, and I learned so much about shaping really culturally safe and sound protocols around engaging First Nations writers.
I mean, the fact that Kirli just said safe and sound, they are two words that really clearly articulate Dr. Janine Lane. And if it's all good, shall we hear from her?
Over to Wiradjuri, writer, editor, award-winning creator, Dr. Janine.
Hello everyone, my name's Janine Lane, and I'm a First Nations poet who belongs to the Wiradjuri people from southwestern New South Wales near the Murrumbidgee River. And I'd like to acknowledge my elders, past, present and emerging. I would also like to say that I'm speaking to you today from Ngunnawal country in Canberra, and I'd like to pay my respects to and acknowledge the Ngunnawal custodians on the lands where I've lived and worked for over 30 years before I moved to Melbourne, the lands of the Wurundjeri peoples. And I'd like to pay my respects to the elders of the lands on which I live and work. Guwayu is an exquisite offering of what's on the minds and what's in the hearts of First Nations writers now and in the past and in the future. Because as the title suggests, this is a book of and for all times. And I am so excited to have a copy in my hand today of this exquisite offering from First Nations peoples. Guwayu is a word in Wiradjuri that means for and of all times. And it means really that all times are important for Aboriginal peoples. And there are many words in many languages that have a similar interpretation to Guwayu. And when I had the privilege of being asked to work with this collection, I thought for a while about a title. And I thought that Guwayu would say a lot about how all times in this country and these countries that are underneath the nation of Australia, all times are important for the First Peoples of these countries. And I thought that this name Guwayu would do something to speak back to the colonial calendar that holds a lot of our memories captive, and that it might free some of those kidnapped memories that have been held hostage to the false claims of settlement and nationhood. And when I had the privilege of writing the forward introduction to Guwayu, I said to the reader that you're now entering into the many Aboriginal countries of the nations of First Peoples. And this is not Australia as you know it. This is Black Australia, BLAK Australia, uncut and unleashed on the page. And these are the First Nations songs and stories and languages that have echoed across the countries from underneath this nation for all times, and will still be here for all times. And the collection is unique, I think, in the following ways. First and foremost, because the poetry comes from the heart and soul of First Nations communities across Australia, and it speaks from the many countries under the geopolitically federated nation. And secondly, the collection brings together many voices that have never been heard before, from across the continent, alongside those of emerging poets, whose names we've been hearing of a bit lately, and more established and critically acclaimed poets. And so it's this vast, diverse collection across countries, across age, across gender, across genre, across all the many things that make us the nation's first people today. And the other thing is the editing and consultation process that underpinned this groundbreaking collection, I think, is a benchmark in First Nations editing, and the consultation practice with the poets and Red Room was fundamental to this. And I didn't really see my role as an editor. I think it's a strange Western word. I saw my role more like someone who was going to work with people and talk with people to get their words, their beautiful words, to bloom and blossom onto the page in the way that they wanted them to. And I came to this book, to this collection, not just with the assumption, but with the belief that everybody is a poet, and all First Nations poets who contributed to Red Room projects over the many years that Red Room has been doing this absolutely wonderful job with Australian poetry. All the poets, I worked with the belief that everyone who contributed should be included in this collection. And poetry, I think, is nothing if not what's in the hearts and minds and souls of people. It's not the sterile, stylized, over-orchestrated words that Western literary canons necessarily say it is. And with this in mind, it became a great privilege and pleasure for me to work with the First Nations contributors of this book, just to get their words to blossom and bloom onto the page. And I think the other thing that's unique about this work is the diversity of First Nations languages that's represented within the collection. And I'd say it's unprecedented to date in Australian poetry publishing history. And that in itself, the journey of those first language poems was precious, and it was seminal for all of us. And we all, myself included, went on that journey, and there was much more to that than just what appeared on the page. It was a whole journey back to a language, or back to the languages that was sleeping and that belonged to all those who were lucky enough to work with language custodians, to be able to wake those languages up within ourselves. And in this way, the poems in this book that grew out of the projects, the many different projects that the Red Room involved First Nations writers in, for example, Extinction Allegies, New Shoots, Poetic Moments, Poetry Objects, The Disappearing, Rhyming the Dead, Unlocked, and Poetry in First Languages. And in this way, these projects and the poems released go beyond acknowledging poetry as just a beautiful art form, but also recognising its far-reaching capacity and impact for social justice and greater community awareness and emotional well-being. And on that note, I would like to share with you one of my poems from the collection. which grew out of the First Nations Poetry in First Languages project. And I had the privilege of going on a journey, which I'm still on, with language custodian Wiradjuri elder Auntie Elaine Lomas. And I would like to share with you this poem called Ninga Guwayu Niang, which in Wiradjuri interprets as these words. These words cry out and I hear them, learn to mould and shape them like clay. There should have been a time for such words, for this word, Ningiha, Nian, and a word for such time, Guwayu. How clunky these are as I first stumble over them, grappling like the child I should have been when I first felt them. Winya, Delinia, sang them. Babia, spoke them. Yayi. Now my clumsy tongue struggles over each new syllable. My country, Ngumbarang, gives me. Each one I want to devour like the sweetest thing. Woolarei, Bang, Gula, Te Whiu I ever tasted. I want to suck every shred of the marrow, Dundumbiri, from each solid sound. I want to swallow it whole, Daramara, to know what it is to eat for the first time. I want to feel like the child born to these words. Gra, drinking, Ningahai, Nian. Thank you. I concluded my foreword to this stunning collection by using the metaphor of a basket, because weaving was practiced across all First Nations peoples in some way or other. Baskets, nets, and at the end of the process you do come up with some sort of exquisite object, vessel, artifact, but it's not just the finished product, it's the process along the way, it's each thread along the way that makes the exquisite vessel in the end. And so, in concluding, I would like to say thank you to the Melbourne Spoken Word Festival for the opportunity to speak about this collection. And I would like to say to my readers, please read this book, because while it was written for Aboriginal people, by Aboriginal people, there is so much to be gained too from a settler audience, because you can never know the country's first people until you read what's in our hearts, in our minds, and of our souls, which we're offering to you in this sublime vessel of verse. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
She's brilliant. There's one line in that poem that I particularly love where Janine talks about sucking the marrow from
Yes.
bone. Yeah.
Same. That was the line that really got me too.
Yeah. I remember working with Jeanine and Auntie Elaine, and yeah, it was such a privilege to be able to pick off these parts of language and to learn them through the project. And lots of these poems are available on the Red Room Poetry website too, so make sure you jump over and check them out. We've had all of you dropping your comments in the box to tell us which country you're on. So we'd also like to acknowledge Gadigal, Wurundjeri, Whadjuk, Noongar, Biripi, Eora.
Kirli has doctor's writing.
I do. Maramarang, Ewan, and Bunwurrung country, and Lutruwita. So thank you so much for your own acknowledgments.
It's I don't know about you, Kirli. I'm a little bit blown away that people like Dr. Natalie Harkin, and Melissa Lukashenko.
Writing
joining
royalties
us.
in the room. Thanks so much for tuning in and for being here for this.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this.
Yeah.
Jen Compton, Kylie, so many people. Thank you for joining and taking your Tuesday night eyes to the screen with us. Thank you for that little. This is our run sheet, yeah. So let's really pause for a moment and talk about Melbourne Writers Festival and Benny Solar. Melbourne Spoken Word Festival, Melbourne Spoken Word Online Festival. Guwayu are really honoured to be a part of the Melbourne Spoken Word Online Festival, and thank you so much, Benny, for giving us this platform.
Yeah, and there's some incredible events, so make sure you jump on the Melbourne Spoken Word Online Festival and be a part of everything happening online.
Congratulations, Benny, for creating such an incredible program. And the weird twist that COVID has given in terms of access. So for those of us not in NAM, we're able to access all of those incredible projects and programs that you've put in your program. So again, really thank you, Benny Solar. Don't forget to like Melbourne Spoken Word Online Festival and follow and check out all of their stuff. A lot of their stuff's free. This is free, isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's the beauty. There's some beauty to COVID, right? We had all of our gigs as writers cancelled, but we get to hang out in our lounge room together. Yes. So on to our next incredible writer, Nadi Simpson, who you heard from the Stiff Gins when we started. Really proud Yuwalari woman and incredible singer-songwriter, always drawing on her ancestral knowledge with language.
Have you met Nadi?
I have. I was on a panel for Writing New South Wales with Nadi, and I just kind of sat there and fangirled the whole time. And we get to fangirl right now. So, please make her feel welcome.
Thank you, Nadi.
Thank you, Nadi.
Yamangindai. Hello, everyone. My name is Nadi Simpson, and I'm sitting here in the beautiful sunshine of Gadigal country in Sydney's inner west, and I'm going to read a poem called Longing, Wanting. Longing, wanting. My edge a blade, slice through air. Slice through air, no breath, no rain. Stay in wait and wait to fade away. Wanting, longing. That arm, that fingernail. Wanting, longing for that arm, that fingernail. My edge a blade, no breath, no rain. Stay in wait and wait to fade away. Wanting, longing for that arm, that fingernail. Wanting, longing, that arm, that fingernail. My edge is a blade of steel. Revered, I reveal a man of pride. I hang proud at his side. I was born again and again through hand, finger, nail. Etched in fine line, wood, tooth, sinew, shell and twine combine to launch and strike. I kill. Divided evermore through time, I lie. Wait, wail. For his hand, finger, nail. Wanting, longing for that arm, that fingernail. Wanting, longing, that arm, that fingernail, longing for. Gaba, thank you.
Nadi,
Thank you, Nadi. That was incredible.
one of those incredible poems that was published for the Poetry Object Project, which engages our younger audiences, predominantly students in years 3 all the way upwards, and also their teachers. So a really wonderful resource if you're a teacher. Jump on the Red Room Poetry website and check out Poetry Object.
Also, keep your eyes peeled on the Blackfella Book Club site on... Do you say site on Instagram? Is
Page?
that page,
Yeah.
Blackfella Book Club page on Instagram. Yeah. Nadi is going to be featuring on that coming up soon, as is Kirli. And Kirli, we're really, really lucky that Kirli is also going to read for us in a minute. But I just really quickly wanted to come back to the stiff gins and encourage you to YouTube or Spotify, rip some stiff gins tunes. For those in their kind of 30s and 40s watching, will know what the stiff gins means. And if you're younger than that, yeah.
You're being ageist to us young pops.
Tune in to the stiff gins. I can't recommend their beautiful tunes enough. And now, without further ado, I'm gonna just hustle to my right, your left, and give Kirli the full stage, the full couch, the full Kirli Saunders painting. This is all by Kirli. What are you reading?
Thank you. I'm going to read Disconnection. Yeah.
He's Kirli.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks, everyone. Disconnection was written on the banks of the Shoalhaven River when I could hear ancestors singing. I was riding on the river at Bundanon there for the Poetry in First Languages, shaping the Poetry in First Languages project, and with Red Room Poetry and with Bundanon Trust. And it was one of those really surreal experiences where I could hear the sounds of ancestors singing, and it was the first time I'd really heard them, and I wasn't sure what they were saying. So freaking out, I called Auntie Trish Levitt, said, "Aunt, I can hear these voices, what does it mean?" And she said, "Well, Bub, it means it's time for you to go and learn language." So Poetry in First Languages is the project that I created with Red Room Poetry. It aims to celebrate, share and preserve First Nations languages by engaging elders and custodians on country with poets and First Nation students. And it's been the most profound experience in shaping an arts project that engages mob and provides paid employment pathways for First Nations writers to teach and learn First Nations languages with students. So it's my privilege and pleasure to be able to share Disconnection with you tonight, and it's been guided by the work of Auntie Velma Mulcahy and Auntie Trish Levitt. So you'll hear some Gannagara language words. I was born and raised on Gannagara land and lived there for 22 years of my life. Gujika. Nya gamiri nya ini mundu. Empty spaces for Gumuang words to fill, and stretch your guri for the piala and their voices. Nya gamiri, your trembling limbs ache to shake in Tengara, and hear your lungs as they gasp Yungumba. Nya feel your body. Sends Buringiling, Yabun and secret. And know that it has been grown with roots wrenched from them that auri that cradled them. And ya taste the hunger nya niri do, to know the parts of yourself, to feel your wong when your dui has been taken. Little one, I see you mouth empty spaces for a mother's words to fill, and stretch your ears for the stories and their voices. I watch your trembling limbs ache to shake in dance, and hear your lungs as they gasp with songs unknown. I feel your body, sans spirit, ceremony and secret, and know that it has been grown with roots wrenched from the earth that cradled them. And I taste the hunger you do, to know the parts of yourself, to feel home when your dreaming has been taken. Thanks, everybody. That poem, Also features in Kindred, which was also published by Magabala Books, and it's just been such a dream working with Magabala to create this collection.
Who are Magabala Books,
Oh,
Kirli?
Magabala are just the best black publishers in the whole
Rachel!
country. Shout out to Rachel Binsala and Zeneca Eiling, who have both been... And Jeanine Leane. Yeah, gosh, the whole team over in Broome. We're sending
while I Instagram.
lots of love over to Magabala. I know Dr. Jeanine Leane mentioned earlier that this project has been created by First Nations arts producers. So myself and Annie have had a hand in this one. It's been edited by Janine and created by Magabala Books. So it's so special to be able to not only have First Nations writers be the sole contributors to this project, but also to have elders and custodians contributing and being remunerated for their time, and then to have the project entirely produced by Mob.
I mean,
really special.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The word remuneration, which I never know how to say.
Renew.
Send your invoices.
Yeah.
Remuneration. That's been a really important part of Guwayu, that each of the contributors, are paid for their work.
Yeah.
That's a really significant thing to do.
Yeah.
And an important thing to do.
Yeah. And it's exciting to be able to share more wonderful words for you. And we have more royalty for you tonight. With,
speaking of royalty, Sam Watson is in the house.
Hey,
Sam!
Thanks so much for joining us.
Sending you love from Darawal country. Apparently there was a comment that you were tuning in. Everyone needs to Google Sam Watson.
Yeah, buy the book and read all of his poems.
Go buy. Thank you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Buy all his work. It's brilliant. We also have next up Uncle Bruce Pascoe.
Royalty.
Total royalty. Yeah, absolutely incredibly astounding, award-winning
incredibly
author, writer,
astounding
poet. He's just the stuff that writing dreams are made of. So please give it up for
Uncle Bruce Pascoe. And just do note Uncle Bruce's dog and grandchild's hair in the name.
No, you don't have to read it as well. It's just me reading. You're my offsider, not my controller. Call it Bruce Pascoe. Kulip walked from the stony shoulder of Tarrangil to this bend of Birrarung, spoke to all the people gathered there. Watherong, Bunurong, Ma, Wurundjeri, Gunai, Tongarong, all the people. And he said, the sky is falling in. Bring me poles, the longest poles. Bring me axes of sharp-edged greenstone, for the sky is falling in. The missionary arrived, as they used to do, but Kulip refused to speak. Well, the man of God was there. For these were the great seers' people, and his message to them was, the sky is falling in. Bring me axes, bring me poles. Together we will repair the rent in our world. Of course, the missionary demanded to know what was said, as they usually do, and for the price of a loaf of bread to a hungry man and a blanket to a woman whose child was cold, he purchased the information that the sky was falling in. Oh, those natives, those children, their savage superstitions. Penny, the sky is falling in. And soon the whole of Bearbrass was chortling at the foolish blacks. Some, as some do, that the need for poles and axes had a more metaphoric intent, a more tactical thrust, and they made sure that Kulip, Sky Master, Dream Master was never seen again. Just in case. How dare he assume a superior dream? And as the dust was settled, the gold was won, the sheep were shorn, banks were vaulted, parliaments raised. Of course, the gardens followed the rule of Q, as you do. No natives, of course, no natives at all, for nothing in this land could please an Englishman's hall, except, of course, the grass and gold, the beaches, a sunrise or two, the quaintness of the kangaroo, the docility of koala and wombat, the duck-billed ornithorhynchus. Exotica. Unnecessary, really, when you could have a fox and a rabbit, a trout and a black. Thank you, Ferdinand von Mueller, creator of the gardens, destroyer of rivers, the founder of the real Australia. Kulla knew the sky was falling in, and it still is. Thanks, mate.
Hey, here we are, all organised. Yeah.
It's the transition between listening on headphones and then jumping in front of the screen. But yeah.
Yeah,
we were too much,
into it. We were totally lost in every word then.
Yeah.
How good was that? How good was that?
Always.
There might have been, for us, when we just had the headphones in, there might have been slight audio issues for you.
Yeah.
So apologies for that if they were. I saw a comment that said that that's happening on purpose, so you have to buy the collection to really make sense of the work.
It's marketing.
So that was really purposeful. That's...
Well, Annie, let's hope that it doesn't happen this time, because we've got Steve Hodder up next, who is a super talented ladle man, and I'm ripping to hear this one.
Me too. Steve, hope you're watching. Thank you so much for contributing this piece to the event this evening. Over to you, Steve.
The disappearing. Dreams, it seems, can be deprived and refuse to arrive, like the glimpse of past lives, like girlfriends and wives, not gone but forgotten, testaments of the rotten loves linger, like the twitch of an amputated finger, digging in the golden river sand in the forgotten crimson speargrass land, where the man spears glass in the glands of extended fams, gets sent to remand, becomes more stock for Z Block, where the clan expands, contemporary jocks for the neo-millennium initiation, fabrication of Malcolm X Boulevard, no longer postcards, cultural discards that retard the jukupa, scrape the urban resin, drifting phantoms ghosting between the gums, fire drums, reserving Eki pills and Lil Wayne stills that replace the chapa, the kajra, ngurpa, alangwa. But why should the eyes pry on them little guys, when there's plenty on either side, black or white, that choose to die culturally, socially, politically, Aboriginal immigrant refugees? So please drop the unease and racial tease. You can be free to abscond subliminally behind a legislative veil, but from whence you hail, the remnants fail to complete the detail. Identities abseil into abysmal bliss. What's this I'm hearing? The coasts are revering, but all that is echoed through the streets in the desert hills.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Brother Bear. Always a pleasure hearing Steve's poetry, and you can find more of it online. So if you're looking for any of those, and I also noticed in the comments, a few people did have issues with hearing Uncle Bruce's poems. So you can find them on the Red Room Poetry website as well. Please make sure you jump on, and you can hear that gorgeous poem, which was commissioned for the Extinction Elegies and New Shoots project.
Yeah. So just coming back to those, when Kirli's talking about projects, the Extinction Elegies, and things like that, if you jump on the Red Room Poetry website, you'll see a tab that has projects, and underneath all of that are the different projects that Red Room Poetry. I don't know if did we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Well, I mean, I guess we did. Everybody's in the lounge room
Well,
with
here
us.
we
So
are.
just, pour yourself a wine, sit down, join us. So Annie is an incredible arts project manager.
Incredible.
You're working on a few really great projects at Red Room at the moment.
I am. I'm very honoured to actually, let's face it, not only have a job, but a job in the arts, and a job where I can be at the forefront of artistic and cultural change and create platforms for Indigenous artists, which is a real mandate. It's a part of what makes me get up every day. So yeah, I've been at Red Room Poetry since September, October?
Yeah. Not long enough.
And it's really interesting. When I started at Red Room Poetry, Kirli talked about leaving.
No. And it was a really beautiful thing because I could pass it over to Annie and feel confident that First Nations communities were going to be supported, and Annie's done an amazing job supporting Mob with this project and many others.
So Kirli's been an anchor of the Poetry in First Languages program for many, many years. 3 years. Mm-hmm. So when I say anchor, I really mean has been at the forefront of all of the responsibility, the cultural integrity that comes with being in that role. And Red Room Poetry are, beyond grateful for the work that Kirli gave. Her very, very much her cultural spirit and heart to Red Room Poetry. So it's a huge loss to the organisation.
You have now Red Room has two other really incredible poets, one who we're going to hear from soon. Yeah.
So we will exactly hear from people who've stepped into. Have they stepped into your role?
They're shaping
their own. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
And working with Red Room in the Poetry in First Languages project wouldn't have been without the support of incredible.
I know who you're going to say.
Elders and custodians, and one of those, Adrian Webster, a proud Yuin Dungutty man, is at the forefront.
Yuin
Dungutty.
Dungutty.
So he's at the forefront of language teaching alongside Jacob Morris down on the Shoalhaven and in Yuin country and Gumia Darawal language. So we're going to hear from Ado next. And Ado, if you're listening, sending so much love to you down on that river, and thanks so much for your incredible contributions to language teaching more broadly on the coast, and for the beautiful poems that you've contributed to this collection.
Well said.
Kita naga berong bombing wa banja wonder wondering geringan tangari. Naga mam wonder wondering ora goji pa doragamaran. I'm a proud Yuin Dungutty man. I'd like to acknowledge that this is Wandering country, home of the Duraga language. I'm here today so I can read to you guys a poem that I wrote, Baladrang. It's in this book, Guwayu, for all people. So keep an eye out for this book. Definitely worth getting a copy and even getting extras so you can share it with your friends and family, or just keep them for spares, because they're full of so many beautiful poems, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. So keep an eye out. Guwayu, it's called. Before I read out the poem that I wrote, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the Gumea Darawal people and their language. So Yaranji, Nabuji. The poem that I wrote is Baladrang. That means reflection. So this is the poem. Nantara kundo lale ngaya, nantara ngayagan. Nantara guroban lale, nantara ngayagan. Nantro Bojan Lale Ngaya, Nantro Nagan, Nantro Ngor Ngaya, Nantro Nagan, Nantro Nagan Ngaya, Nantro Maganindan Lalijan. And yeah, that's it. Yaranji, thank you. Hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, definitely keep your eye out for this book, and yeah, get a copy and check out the other poems. Thanks. Yaranji.
Thank you, Ado.
It takes me back to being on the coast and working with Ado and Jacob, and it's exciting to see the work that they continue to do in schools. So if you're down that way, keep an eye out for their magic.
Yeah. Also read a little comment there about adorable eyes.
Ado.
Yeah. There was a comment. I'm sure I saw a comment that said adorable eyes.
Yeah, I get that. He's great. Totally.
Yeah. How good was it to hear language?
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the most amazing things about Ado is that he signs off all of his emails with, I've never met him, but it's always much love. So
Full of love.
What a good guy. I'm not sure where we can hear more about Ado.
There's definitely some stuff on the website. Yeah, jump on the Red Room Poetry website, and you'll be able to find some work by Ado, Adrian Webster, and Jacob Morris is another poet that he works alongside a lot.
Jacob Morris.
Yeah, true powerhouse.
I love that Ado recommended to buy a couple of copies, you know?
Yeah,
like,
just in case.
One in your glove box. You know? Like,
I totally have poems in my glove box. Yeah, I get that. Next up we have an incredible poet, film director.
Lindsay!
Yeah, Lindsay recently joined the Red Room Poetry team and is managing First Nations projects alongside Ethan Bell, who's a really proud Wallabalua man. And
what a team.
Incredible. It makes me sad to not be there anymore because we've got so many incredible mob working with Red Room. So we're going to hear from Linz. Linz is a Munkara Yuan woman and
Munkara Yuan.
Yeah, and just incredible arts curator and arts project manager. So please give it up for Lindsay Urquhart.
Nice one, Lindsay.
Cheers, sis.
My name's Lindsay Urquhart, and I wrote this poem, Mudgees and Yillaman, which means friends and spears in Dharawal. I wrote it in response to the 200-year anniversary commemoration of the Appin Massacre, which is the town where I grew up, and something I learned about when I was 10 years old. The poetry is inspired by a workshop with Auntie Jodie Edwards, who taught me Dharawal language for the very first time. It includes Durga language through custodian Vicky Parsley, who's a Mudgee of mine from a very long time. And I wrote it in that language because my ancestors walked that land from what is now known as Braidwood or Munkara Yuan country, which is where I'm a descendant of. And they walked down to Maruya, Durga speaking language country. I've also tried to include Darumba language, which is also from that Munkara Yuan area and is a bit of a question mark at the moment as we continue to research and bring back our languages. So it's called Mudgees and Yillaman, Friends and Spears. Reach to the Birrung, if you dare. For our ancestors, they live there. Yukon Yuan, speak up, spirits of the dead. Nura Bugia, I hear yesterday. 232 years of Bugia have failed you. Nya Mudgees Guan in a Garawanga. I see friends jumping into the dreaming, jumping into the Dilwan. Burgama Barnan Yilma Maori Yalban Yokan. That means westerly wind, northeasterly wind, southerly wind, easterly wind. Speak up for the spirits of the dead. Gagamari Bidiga Buljan Jaja Gurban Mudgee. That means clever man, grandmother, grandfather, cousin, friend. Nya Nabu, I see family now on the Gayan Garabang. I see your family on the big rock. Nya Nabu, Mujis, Yangana and Gali for you. I see family and friends singing and dancing for you. Nya Gadu, Bana from their Marbara. I see ocean water falling from their eyes. Nura Durua calling, waiting. I hear the whipbird calling, waiting, under the cross. Nyan Gunby burning and the Yillaman sharpening. I see fires burning and the spears sharpening.
It gets us every time. The videos transitioned way too fast to the screen, and we're just so engrossed in the poetry reading. Sorry.
I see. What was that line? I see salt
Ocean
ocean water in their eyes.
Yeah, there's a line that Lindsay speaks in that poem about the wind, which I really love as well.
Me too. Especially with the winds we've had just the last week, the last 3 days. What was the line?
I'm going to have to go reread it again, which is fine because I'm going to get heaps of copies of Guwayu. So, and you should too for all your friends.
Glove box copies.
It brings up, that wind line brings up for me a conversation I had today with Darren McKenney, who works over at Miramar, and Miramar have been great supporters for this project. So
nice transition.
Darren, if you're tuning in, thank you so much for all of your help with ensuring that we had really sound cultural protocols for these projects. It's something I'm really proud of in the delivery of Guwayu. But Darren's call to action for us when we're feeling like we've lost our grounding on country was to go in every day, attend to where we can hear the wind and what the wind sounds like and what it's saying to us today. So tomorrow, or if you're out and about tonight, please tune into the wind, listen to the songs and the sounds of the land, and hear them echoed in this beautiful collection.
I want to write about this actually. Wind. Okay, so do winds ever end? Maybe the winds of our ancestors are winds that we're feeling today. Are they ancient winds? Are there? Tell me.
I don't know. I know down here there's a dreaming story that talks about the west wind being Ula Bula Woo. And Ula Bula Woo, and the kids love to say that sound, Ula Bula Woo, the west wind blew it, and it's a beautiful dreaming story about the mother mountain that we're sitting under today. So more yarning about winds soon. But we just, thank you so much. It's been, projects like this don't happen without the help of a really incredible team. Thank you to all the Red Room Poetry team who tuned in and who have been behind this project.
Thank you, Tamarin. Thank you, Dr. Tamarin Bennett.
Yes, and our incredible artistic director, who is an amazing poet in her own right. You should definitely check out Tamarin's work.
Well said.
And also to all of our funders and supporters who we're going to put up next.
We're not going to list the funders and supporters. They'll just be, like Kirli said, there'll be a slide of all of them, but just know that we're very grateful for them to have given all they have. Yeah. Can I just quickly jump in and really punctuate the amount of support that Megabala publishers have given? Yeah. Thank you so much for publishing this incredible work. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jeanine Lane.
Incredible editing. Yeah. And just every single poet who has contributed and been part of the last 16 years of commissions at Red Room Poetry. Our songs and our stories now always matter, and it's been such a privilege to be able to work with you in bringing these all to life. Yeah.
What a speech maker. Shall we wrap up with thanking Melbourne Spoken Word Online Festival? Thank you again for this platform.
Thank you, Benny.
Thank you, Benny. Benny Sola. Yeah. Make sure you check out their website and jump on to other programs that they're delivering. Who else, Carls?
Thanks, Annie. This has
Thank
been really
you, Kirli.
fun. Yeah.
Thank you for creating your artwork. How can people find out more about? Because Kirli, has left the team. Yeah. How can they find out more about your work?
Just online.
Have you got a website, Kirli?
I do.
What is it?
Just Kirli Saunders. We've been tuned out.
What's happening?
The lights have come on. It's the end of the night. Go home, everyone. Thanks. No, you already are. Thanks so much for your time today. It's been, a really, really great time yarning with you. And we have a word, Naganagula, which means walking and working together. It's been a privilege, Naganagula, with you and Didgerigorani and me. Thank you.
Ka kite. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye,
Make sure you
everyone.
pre-order Guwayu.
Yeah, see you soon.
Ka kite. You're so great.